It is Kieran Trippier. It is delicious! Glorious! Glorious!
Walker in there too. Luke Shaw! Harry Kane wants it played into him. He chooses Grealish instead. It's Grealish! It's Kane! I think like this has happened for a long time. Here's the overhead kick from Kane! Palmer finds Watkins. Watkins turns! Watkins scores!
Hello and welcome back to the Gate 102 podcast. I hope I find you well. Thank you for tuning in to today's episode for another game. And this episode is a big one because I'll be talking about England versus Italy in the Euro 2020 final at Wembley. And this is obviously England's first major tournament final since 1966. And it was one of the most emotional, dramatic, and I suppose painful nights in England's history. And after that unbelievable semi-final win against Denmark, England were just one game away from a trophy. If you could feel it, that mix of excitement, mix of nerves and disbelief that England were actually here. We were in a final. And I mean, for a lot of fans, this was the first time they'd ever seen England in a final. And for others, it just felt like a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity, to be honest. But they did face Italy, and there were no pushover because they came into this final on an incredible, unbeaten run, playing confident, aggressive football. And they'd already knocked out Belgium and Spain on the way to the final. So it was going to be a difficult game for England's point of view. But let's talk about the team Southgate selected. Now, Southgate returned to a back three for this game, and that was presumably because this was against England's toughest test of the tournament, and Southgate probably wanted to have more defensive solidity against such a dangerous attacking team. And also, this system worked so well against Germany, so Southgate probably had that in the back of his mind as well, in the hope that it will work again. So it was Pickford in goal, a back three of Kyle Walker, John Stones and Harry Maguire. Trippier and Shaw were the wing-backs. Rice and Phillips in midfield. And then Mount and Sterling playing in behind the striker, Harry Kane, who led the line up front. So it was a very strong team. Obviously defensively really solid, but it also had your creative players in there, people like Kane, Sterling and Mount. And also the wing-backs could really push on. So it did have attacking intent. So the game kicked off and, yeah, what a start it was. Within just 2 minutes, Wembley erupted. England took the lead, and what a goal it was. Luke Shaw arriving at the back post on the half volley. I mean, it was a brilliant cross from Trippier, and then Luke Shaw. I mean, just wow, what a goal it was. And England were in the lead. And that moment felt surreal, to be honest. England leading a major tournament final after 2 minutes. I mean, people were hugging strangers. The noise was deafening all over the country. And suddenly that dream felt real. I mean, part of me was expecting it might have been a slow start with like nerves and maybe a bit of uncertainty about how England were going to play, but it was the perfect start. And Luke Shaw had been one of England's best players at the tournament. And that goal was just a justification of just how good he'd been. And the confidence to take the shot on first time was amazing. I mean, people's heart rate must have been, well, it's probably high enough as it was. And then after that goal, it probably went up an extra 10 beats per minute, whatever. Just a surreal moment. And it was great to be in the lead so early on. But I suppose the danger of this is that it meant Italy were always going to come back at England. Like I said, England started the game really well, but gradually, as the first half went on, Italy began to settle and started to dominate a bit more possession. And England were defending well, but they stopped posing much of a threat going forward. I mean, I say it was the perfect start for England. If anything, scoring so early on meant that it was hard to maintain that attacking intent. And yeah, as the first half went on, England's attackers started getting isolated and Italy began to grow in confidence. And by half time, England was still 1-0 up, so that was great. But you could start to feel the momentum shifting ever so slightly. Italy were starting to control the game, and England were having to do a lot of defensive work. But it was good to be in the lead at half time, and you were hoping that the second half, England could maybe just get some control back. But the second half continued as the first half ended, really. Italy pushed higher, kept trying to score, and that forced England deeper. You could sort of sense that the equaliser was coming. Obviously, Gareth managed 102 games for England, hence the name Gate 102. And this is probably the game where Southgate's tactics are talked about more than any other game. A lot of fans say how he was too defensive and that he didn't change things, but let me just remind people that this Italy team were unbeaten in 31 games before this. They're always going to put pressure on us. It's just the nature of football. It's not meant to be easy. When you're playing against such a good team and you're 1-0 up in the second half, it's always going to be challenging. And this thing about how Southgate was too defensive, well, what happens is Southgate goes more attacking and we start being more open defensively against such a good team who can play through you. If anything, I think Southgate did the right thing. And because Italy were just too good. I mean, I know people try and downplay how good they were, but they were a really good team. And it was tough to play against. But in the 67th minute of the game, Italy did get that equaliser, and it had been coming, to be honest. A corner wasn't properly cleared, and the ball fell to Bonucci, and he tapped it in to make it 1-1. It was a really scrappy goal. And it's just one of them where it's a bit of a scramble in the box, and then it just fell to Bonucci, who couldn't really miss. And from that moment on, the game felt like it was in Italy's hands, really. England looked tired, physically and mentally. The energy from the first half had sort of gone, and Italy were completely dictating the tempo. But Southgate, to his credit, did bring on Saka, Grealish and Henderson later on to try and change the game and get some attacking intent. But England never really regained control. And at full time, it ended 1-1, and we were heading into extra time. So when people criticise Southgate for his subs, I think, and I know I'm a big Southgate fan, but I think he brought on the best players he could at that moment. So yeah, huge credit to him. But extra time was tense, scrappy, and quite draining, to be honest. Both teams were clearly shattered. Italy still looked the more comfortable team, but there was no real clear-cut chances from either team. And you could sort of sense, as extra time went on, you sort of sense that it was going to be penalties. And so it was. Penalties at Wembley. And if you go off our history, it's the worst possible way for England to decide a final, to be honest. And it was England's captain, Harry Kane, who took the first penalty. He did what Harry Kane does, scored. And then following that, Maguire scored an unbelievable penalty. Like, he could not have put it more top right if he tried. Definitely the best penalty on the night. But then came the misses. Rashford hit the post. Sancho was saved. And Saka's penalty was saved by Donnarumma, which meant Italy won the shootout and England had lost the final. And that moment was absolutely devastating. It felt like the dream had been ripped away in the cruelest way possible. And it's such a cruel way to go out, because the players who missed all performed really well in the tournament, and they're all young as well. But heartbreak wasn't the end of the story that night, and if anything, the penalty misses were just a shadow of something way worse, and that was the horrific racist abuse online that those players received after missing the penalties. And yeah, it was disgusting, and that was the worst part of the night, without a doubt. Yeah, and I know it's only a minority of fans. Well, say fans. I don't know if you can call them fans, but minority of people obviously giving such unacceptable abuse. But these were young players who had shown incredible courage to step up in that moment, a pressurized moment, in front of millions of people. They had the guts to do it, and the fact that they were targeted with hatred by a small minority of people was, just the worst part of the night. But what followed, though, showed why Gareth Southgate is more than just a football manager. Southgate immediately came out and defended his players. He took full responsibility, and he spoke with such dignity and showed why he's an elite leader. He made it absolutely clear that these players represented the very best of England, not just on the pitch, but off it as well. And he almost took the blame himself, trying to take the hate away from those three players and almost put it on himself. And that was something that only someone so humble could do. But the response from the majority of England fans was powerful. Messages of love flooded social media, and majority of fans stood with those players. And looking back on the final now, it still hurts. I mean, it's funny, to write this episode, I obviously had to watch the game back, and I've just realised I've not actually watched the game back since real time. And it's the first time watching it back in, ever. And even 5 years later, it still hurts. England was so close. Overall, the tournament was special. It reconnected the national team with the fans, especially after such a difficult time with COVID and all that. And Southgate built a team people could believe in, and that was a huge achievement. And really, really special summer. So that concludes the games of Euro 2020, a tournament that created some amazing moments, and I hope the last 7 episodes have brought back memories for you and your family, and that's what this podcast is all about. My goal to do this is so people can look back and remember just how amazing these times were supporting England, because they were incredible, and I know it was heartbreaking at times. But Southgate and his team once again rewrote history by breaking down barriers and achieving new milestones. And that's the case in this tournament. But before I leave you, I just want to say that my next episode, I have a very special guest joining me. I'm delighted to say I'll be joined by Aidan Smith from Tactically Speaking. And we will cover this game in more tactical detail. So that's why I've not really spoken too much about what happened on the pitch today, because we'll cover that next episode with Aidan in slightly more depth. But we'll also talk about the tournament as a whole and general tactic stuff with England. So it'll be really good. So do look out for that one next week, and I can guarantee it'll be great. So thanks for listening to this episode and for all the episodes throughout the tournament. And until next time, take care of yourselves, and I'll speak to you soon.